Elon Musk is without doubt one of the most productive people on Earth.
And for a while there, I was just doing constant 100-hour weeks, that's definitely wearing. And now I'm kind of in the 80 to 90, which is more manageable.
And that time is split between working on many different projects from Tesla and SpaceX, but also the multiple other companies he runs like OpenAI, Neuralink, and The Boring Company. All of this as well as being very active on Twitter. Unfortunately, with Elon Musk, we don't have a source that gives us a detailed explanation of his work schedule, but we do have some pieces of information from his interviews from time to time. However, we do know the method he uses to keep his work organized and plan out his day. In 2013, he was working at SpaceX on Monday before flying back to work on Tesla on Wednesday and Thursday, and flying back to LA on Friday for SpaceX. This was a while back, so it has changed a bit, but it is known that he works in 5-minute slots. This is what we call timeboxing. Timeboxing is essentially a very simple time management technique that can help you take better control over your schedule. Timeboxing simply means that you open your calendar and enter a block of time that you'll spend on a certain task in the future. Or in other words, it's about setting a fixed amount of time in your calendar for a particular task. A lot of successful people use this technique, and today I wanted to break down how exactly you can implement this in your work schedule. Because the benefit of it is that it helps you work within the time frame that you set, and it helps you stay productive and not procrastinate. The first thing you can do is start by making a list of all the activities and work that you have to do for this day. List everything, even the smallest ones that don't require much time, for example, checking your emails and replying to the important ones. Then allocate next to each one of them how much time you estimate it will take you. It can be 30 minutes for emails, then 1 hour for a meeting you have, another hour for a project you have to finish, and so on. The goal is to really get a better understanding of how much time it will take you. I also recommend that you set a limit on the number of tasks you can do. For example, not have more than 3 meetings on this day because you have to have more time for another project. When you have identified your most important tasks and how much time it will take for each of them, that's when you can start putting them in your calendar. And you should start with the most important ones at the beginning of your day, and you get through them by order of prioritization. The morning is usually the best time for the most important tasks, at least in my experience, because that's when you have fewer distractions and you are the most focused. But it's very important that you define the size of the boxes based on the amount of time you think of spending on each task. A task that requires 3 hours will be larger than one that needs only 30 minutes when you enter it in your calendar. And this is just to get a better visualization of each task and how much time each one of them will take. One thing I'd like to point out is that you have 2 types of time boxes that you can do. You first have the soft time box and then the hard time box. Nothing too difficult, but simply put, with a soft time box, once your time limit is over, then you allow yourself to continue working on the task until you're done with the part that you were working on. And with the hard time box, once the time limit is over, then you drop everything and you stop working on that task. You decide whichever you prefer. The soft time box can be useful if you're writing and need some time for reflection, and the hard time box can be useful if you really want to stay accountable to your work so that you are forced to work within that time frame. If you tend to procrastinate, then I recommend that you work with the hard time box because it forces you to respect the time limit and it makes you work on the task intensively. With this said, it's also very important that you take breaks, and I'll give you some efficient and interesting ways that you can take your breaks. I'm not sure if Elon Musk takes breaks. Very little is said about that, but we do know that when he became the world's richest person, this is what he tweeted: "All right, back to work." Elon is obviously very productive, so he may not need the breaks, but most of us aren't like that. Now, I would recommend that the best way to combine both work and breaks is through the Pomodoro technique. Essentially, this is a time management technique that helps you work in blocks of 25 minutes, and once the 25 minutes is done, you take a 5 to 10 minute break, And you work again for 25 minutes, and you do that 4 times until you reach 1 hour of working time, and you can take a longer break. And this technique is very useful by combining both work and breaks if you want to work and stay accountable and not feel exhausted or, even worse, procrastinate. Taking breaks is very useful here, and what you could do is get up, go grab a snack or make a coffee, go outside if it's sunny, play with your dog or cat, and the idea is to distract your mind for 5 minutes before going back to work. But be careful, because I have this bad tendency of going on my phone during my breaks, and I'll end up scrolling 20 minutes on TikTok. This is an area I have to work on myself, but I would recommend that you do not use your phone if possible during the break. We are all susceptible to what's called the planning fallacy, which describes how human beings tend to make over-optimistic predictions for how long things are going to take. For example, if you have to drive to a friend's house for dinner because it's Saturday night, when you predict how long it's going to take you to get to his place, you picture the scenario where there's barely any traffic at all and where everything is perfect. The problem is that there's usually more traffic than expected, and it's going to take you much longer than what you predicted. And if you recognize yourself in this scenario, then you have to be careful, because it's not very compatible with time boxing. Because you will underestimate how long a task will take, and you'll end up barely having done half the work that you wanted to do, which will have the effect of discouraging you. I think that the best way to avoid this is by dividing big tasks into subtasks and even break it down further into smaller tasks. What this will do is that you'll have a better and clearer picture of what is in front of you, and by having these well-defined tasks, it'll be much easier for you to determine how long a task will take. And this brings me to my second point that I want you to watch out for, and it's very important, and is to not over-schedule your day. Yes, I know, Elon Musk is known for working 90 hours a week, but you nor I are robots like he is. It's very likely that if you plan too much on your to-do list, you won't get most of it done, and it can be frustrating and discourage you from staying on track. So I strongly recommend that you focus on what needs to be done by order of urgency and importance by following the task prioritization matrix. Here you essentially define what you're going to work on by selecting the most urgent and most important task first. There are many ways you can proceed to do time boxing, from the obvious pen and paper or even on your computer, and you can also do it on your calendar app on your phone. But if you're someone who's a bit more sophisticated, then I would strongly recommend the app Todoist, which is available on both Android and the iPhone, as well as on your computer through the official website. I've used it quite a lot, and I have to say that it's quite good to set your work in order of prioritization, and you can also allocate different times for your tasks. I'm sure there are many other apps that are out there that are very good, but I've only used Todoist, and that's the one I would recommend, and I won't speak for the other ones. So it seems that we've gotten towards the end of the video, and if you've made it this far, then I want to give you a big thank you, because by watching the video to the end, you really help us small creators get more exposure through the YouTube algorithm. And if you've enjoyed this video and you want similar content, then don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to my channel, and comment if you're going to use this time boxing technique. So with that said, and as usual, I wish you a very good day and see you next time. Take care.